here we are.
To
We're
it.
getting started. And this week, we're talking about 1986.
1986.
Oh, good. We're singing every time. Good. Good. Oh, and the shoulder shimmy.
I'm going to dislocate something.
Okay.
Stop.
Yeah, everybody. Hello. Hello,
Hello,
Heath.
hello.
Hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Are we ready to take on 1986?
Is 1986 ready for us?
Oh, that's the better question.
That's the best question.
That's the better question.
That's the better question.
Before we do that, though, as always, we got to talk about our unmitigated gall. Get it off our chest for the preceding couple weeks. So, Aaron, I want to start with you.
Okay.
What's your unmitigated gall from the last couple weeks?
It's highly specific.
Oh,
But it took up some time.
Okay.
And so I feel like it's worthy of bringing to the unmitigated call table,
good.
if you will.
Okay, yeah.
It's, if I put it in a phrase, it would be ignoring barricades.
Oh,
Should you choose to ignore barricades
huh.
or cones or perhaps even a man waving, what might happen to you is you might drive your car through fresh asphalt.
Uh-oh.
Said tar might get stuck to your car. And you might feel like in that case you have recourse. In fact, you do not.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, back to the beginning, you ignored a barricade. Drove around a cone and a waving man.
To be clear, this is not you that's doing this.
No.
This is someone else.
I dealt with someone this week that did this at a job site and is incensed that there is but a dash of tar on their car
Sir.
That they put there.
that they
Sir.
put there
Yeah.
by, again, ignoring a barricade, driving around a cone,
And a man.
and a
man.
waving man.
Like a real man, not a balloon man.
No, not like a fun car guy that's like beckoning you in.
No.
Car sale, wavy guy. No. A real man who clearly just laid the asphalt.
Real man.
A real man. And the worst part is that the person I actually feel the worst for in this scenario was the waving man.
Yeah.
Because that's the first phone call that Mike and I had to take about this situation. And the number of sighs that he did, like he had just resigned himself to, he was like, hey, so, I mean, people.
Wow.
I mean, it took us like multiple minutes to get where it was going. Mike and I talked afterwards, and I was like, I thought he was going to say like he couldn't get the job done that day or something, and we were going to have to reschedule everything. Like I thought he was bringing that energy. Instead, he was just like, I don't know what to do about people, man. I was standing there, I was waving, and he went through the tar, and now it's on his car, and I just get so.
I don't know what to do about people is pretty much
question
our
for the
tagline.
agency.
Yeah.
He also mentioned that right after this happened, a lady was leaving this was at an apartment complex, leaving her apartment, and just allowed her child to run through it.
Oh.
And he's like, I didn't even know what to say except your shoes are ruined, kid.
Yeah.
I was like, is that
That's
what
the only
you
thing?
said? Did you actually say that? Because if you did, I love you. even
Well
more.
done. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I feel like maybe just a good reminder this time of year, just like barricades, they're there for a reason
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Road construction season has started.
Yeah.
And also, if you, for some reason, because you have your head up your ass, you miss the barricades, you miss the waving man, and you drive through the thing, do not then turn around and be like, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help me
Yeah.
get the tar off my car?
It's on you at
Yeah.
that point. If you don't turn around and your car gets stuck in a bunch of water, which we see every year when there's flooding or something on Fluor Drive, you are responsible for whatever that damage is. Like,
And was it a fancy car?
no, we're dealing with like a 1998 Toyota Celica or something of that nature. We are not dealing with a fancy car.
Okay.
I'm not even sure that this is his first tar experience after seeing it. So
Okay. So he's been doing it all over the city.
I think he thinks he's running a scam, and I'm not sure. I think he just ran too far on this one because not only does he have a car problem, but then obviously we have a problem that requires fixing because...
Maybe that's the deal. Like, we'll pay to get your tar off your car, but you've got to pay for us to redo this asphalt. So,
Yeah.
So it comes out.
I mean, the
even?
lawyer in me is going to say we're accepting no liability for this. So no, I'm not going to do any of that. No, and you might still be responsible for fixing it. But needless to say, I've learned a lot about tar, about asphalt, about barricades.
Interesting.
And
And the human spirit.
I think it takes some unmitigated gall to drive through it.
I would argue that he's learned something about barricades and cones.
I don't know his reaction. Maybe he hasn't learned.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a wild thing to experience.
Remember last week when we said, what if all the people we're complaining about have their own podcast and
Yeah.
they're complaining about us? So right now that guy is on his podcast and he's like, these assholes didn't even warn me that there was asphalt.
There's no
Silica has
asphalt.
tar on it now, you guys.
To loop it into 80s and 90s, it does feel like a Brady Bunch episode. Then we'd all be in the courtroom and we'd be like, look at this picture. You look back at the tar. It proves that you knew it was there.
And he'd be wearing a fake neck brace.
Yes.
Yep.
And you'd have to drop a big book
Yep.
to get him to snap to
Were
attention.
there a lot of courtroom scenes in the Brady Bunch that I forgot about?
Oh, there was at least one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where there was a
okay.
car accident, and I think someone backed into. They were both backing out at the same time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it was a hijinks, I'm sure,
Yes.
sort of court scene. All right.
Absolutely,
All
yeah.
right.
They won the case by dropping a big book, and the guy who said he had neck injury turned really fast.
Right, yeah.
And they were like,
Oh,
haha, your neck
my.
isn't broken.
That feels like
Yeah.
the Legally Blonde perm thing
Right.
at the end.
It was
Yeah.
very, very much.
Yeah,
legally
very
blonde
much
coded.
so.
I like
Yeah.
it. All right.
Which is pretty much where we are in my courtroom. These are the kinds of things, if I did run a courtroom, I would fully embrace.
So you'd be asking about perms all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah, I think that's good.
Cool. Wow. Okay. So Heath, what about you? What's your goal?
My unmitigated gall is just the wind.
The
I'm just
wind?
Fucking sick of it.
That was almost going to be mine, too. Yeah.
There's been like 30-mile-an-hour winds for like 3 weeks around here, and it's like I'm not flying a kite.
No.
I'm not generating energy from this. I just want to be able to go outside and not fall over.
Yeah.
What if we all erected our own little windmills and garnered the energy from that?
Oh, yeah.
We'd be raking it in right now.
I think so.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know engineering. I don't know science. So someone else has to figure that out. But, whatever.
Yeah.
an
Any
idea.
wind scientists out there that are listening, please contact
Yeah.
us.
All
Is
you
that
wind
a specific
scientists.
type of wind scientist? I like that. I might start telling people I am a wind scientist just for the heck of it.
Windologist.
It feels like they used.
Sounds like you're going to say which way the wind blows and tell you your sign, how that relates. Well, when the wind blows this way, Taurus is in its second moon.
Oh boy. Some people will fully subscribe to that. They will start a cult. It'll be a wind cult.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Heath just started a cult.
Heath, well done.
Well,
Now you got to start the sex stuff and you got to start bringing in the cash.
You're going to need to sell courses.
Yeah.
do that. I
Get
can
that
do that.
curriculum going.
All the wind science.
I need to set up a multi-level marketing
Yep.
situation.
Yes. You could sell wind in a bottle.
And that'll just be us blowing into tiny little bottles, sealing it up.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep. Not the wind. We hate the wind.
Hate the wind.
Hate the wind. Hate the wind.
My favorite thing about the wind is when I'm feeding the outdoor cats, the colony of cats that are living outside, and I put out little plates for their food in the morning, and the minute they step off of them or get away from them, they're just flying all over the place. So I have to go out and pick up plates everywhere. It's a fun little game we play every morning, the wind and I. Good times. Yeah.
What about you, Amy?
Well, my goal is this month because it is...
The whole month?
Listen, it's not really April's fault. It's someone decided to make this Autism Awareness Month. Oh. And this month... Wait, there's more groaning to come because this month is when all the martyrs, the assholes, the conspiracy nuts, it's time to play. All right? So, back note, I found out I was autistic a few years ago, age 43. Crazy that it took me this long, but it's a really good discovery that's changed a lot for the better. But I also entered a very weird world because there are a couple of online communities in particular, right? There's the adults like me who are coming to this later in life and we're sharing stuff like, oh my God, you know that was related to autism? What the hell? Crazy kind of thing. Then there are the parents and the looky-loos.
Okay.
Now, parents of autistic kids often call themselves warriors, if that gives any clue to the kind of behavior we're going to expect this month.
That seems unnecessarily violent.
It really does. Yeah. That's the energy they're bringing, though. They post all the time about how hard it is to have a kid that's not normal.
Oh.
They put bumper stickers on their cars calling themselves warrior parents. They advocate for some really suspect treatments for their kids. And maybe the best part is they do not want to hear from adults like me who are saying that it might be okay to be autistic.
Right, yeah.
There's different learning styles.
Right.
There's different ways of going about the world. It's not a death sentence for your kid that
Right.
they can't concentrate or they can't do things normally, right?
Air quotes for anyone where you throwing air quotes around normal for the record.
They don't want to hear that. That goes against their whole philosophy.
Also, they're not helping their kids by saying
No.
your life is weirder and harder and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
you're
right.
not.
Just so
Right.
you know, I have to be a warrior just to be your parent.
And they are looking for a cure above all else. They are looking for some magic pill, some magic bullet, some magic treatment that so they can break this disease that's kidnapped their normal kid. That is a direct quote from somebody that I saw online. And then it gets weirder because a lot of them are part of the anti-vax movement.
See, I was going to say that because I remember when Jenny McCarthy,
Right.
a noted idiot,
Yeah.
told everyone her kid had autism because he got vaccinated.
Which, by the way, this started
Speaking of
in
scientists,
Yes,
Jenny
yeah.
McCarthy.
in the late 90s. This all started because some scientists just made that shit up. Was completely discredited later on, but it took hold. So that thing is still around today. So they're part of this. They're often a part of the conspiracy theories about medicine. They're basically part of the QAnon pipeline. So there they go. So
They built that pipeline.
they did build that pipeline.
Well,
with
they
their
are
own
warriors.
2 normal hands. So they are the loudest voice this month, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that name it autism awareness, whereas actual autistic folks often call it autism acceptance, or they just
Right.
say, hey, it's April.
Yeah.
We don't really care. We don't really care if you're aware of us or accept us. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A short story to illustrate the gall. All right. So a couple years ago, I took part in a panel at work for this month, which I'm just going to say right now, this was an ill-advised move.
Why did
Okay.
they have a panel at your job about those?
Excellent question. They're trying real hard to be inclusive. This went sideways real fast. So it was supposed to showcase autistic employees or neurodivergent employees at the company, right? The parents who were participating, because there were parents of autistic kids, and they were presenting on the panel as well, because look at me and look at what I do, take care of my kids that are fucked up. They were not happy with my spiel, which was all about like, hey, different learning styles, different working styles, like not a big deal, like
Yeah.
let's just make things for everyone kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't good for them. A lot of their comments were all about how to control their kids. A lot of comments in the webcast were all about how do I, deal with tantrums and how do I make my kids more normal? And listen, I'm not a parent. I know it's got to be fucking hard, especially if your kid is not normal, okay? But Jesus Christ.
Right.
Like you said, especially your kids are watching you.
Right,
They're
yeah.
watching you say how hard it is to be their fucking parent.
And they hear that stuff, and
Yes.
they internalize it.
Also, the moderator at the event started the thing by saying, gosh, autistic people are just so pure and just so special. And I was like, oh, fuck, we are in for a ride. Okay. Then there was another autistic employee. So it was me and her participating, but she didn't do she didn't talk much at all. It was her boss that came on, and her boss spent the whole time talking about what it was like to manage an autistic employee and how to face the challenges of, and sometimes she doesn't quite know how to do this certain thing. So I just help her along because, I'm really trying to be a good boss. Like it was all about her congratulating herself.
What?
That's cringy.
Overall, immediately I was like, oh, I have made an error in my judgment in being part of this. And I was so incensed afterwards. It was just a fucking waste of time. So, anywho, this month is full of gall.
Yeah.
And it's real annoying. Mostly because no one will listen to the people who have the actual thing. It's all about posturing and cures and whatever, which I think is kind of indicative of a lot of awareness days.
Yeah.
And a lot of acceptance days. Anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, you're not going to hear about lived experiences. You're going to hear a lot of weird messaging. And then you're going to see people go into QAnon.
I didn't realize that we were so focused on a cure for that. Like, I thought that we were kind of on the page of
Nope.
neurodivergence is
In
part of life.
fact, another thing that has some fucking gall, is whenever you just do a general search about autism, the organization that comes up first is called Autism Speaks. And they are suspect. They are all about finding a cure, and they advocate for some real shady shit for treatments. And it's all about, parents basically, like, how do you fix your kids that are broken? And yeah, it's not good. And that sucks that they're the top voice.
I also feel like how misguided for those parents that were on that panel. Like, I think it would be, I'm sure, as a parent, you worry about your kids and like what their long term, like what their life's going to look like or what their skill set's going to be. And if you're in that, why wouldn't you want to hear from an adult who's like, yeah, these are options. Like, it's not, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, I would feel like that would bring such a sense of relief. Like, oh, okay.
It did not. It
sounded like it was enraging.
It was like, oh, let's let her talk and then let's focus on the real thing. What about tantrums?
I hope you immediately threw one.
They couldn't do anything, right? You could just be like, this is, my autism flared up.
Oh, my God. I should have done
My autism flared up.
Sorry, I punched you in the face, Connie. My autism flared up.
The autism took over.
God, you should use that more. My autism flared up.
Yeah.
Like rheumatoid arthritis. I can't make it. My autism flared up.
You could call in sick to work.
I could. I am not in control. The autism has taken over.
I'm having a heavy autism day.
Yeah, there's heavy days. There's medium flow days.
Yep.
There's all sorts of, every day is different.
Oh, my God.
So that's my gall. That was my little rant. Rant over.
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
But what about the wind?
Yeah. What about barricades, Amy? Thank God she went last.
Yeah.
What if she started and then
Yeah,
we
she
were
would have
like,
started
I don't
and
like...
I'm good. I'm not, no gall this week.
Okay, there have been many times where, like last week, I was talking about my fucking ears. All right, so
That was some gall, though. I'm with you on the ears.
Yeah.
so we're
Ears
we're
have
good.
some nerve.
Again, if there are people with and. Actually, I know this is true. There's people with podcasts right now that would be like, those fucking adults with autism think they know what they're talking about. They're just making it all up. Meanwhile, buy my oils.
Buy my sleep cream.
Anywho, shall we turn from that to 1986?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't wait. Let's
Me
go back
either.
to a time when
Pre-autism.
when kids like me had no idea what that was, and parents wouldn't have wanted to call me that anyway.
Right.
Imagine
Right.
that.
Can you imagine your parents like at a panel?
Nope.
Like talking about
Nope.
this and been like, we're warriors.
Oh, my God. We're warriors.
Yeah, no, not happening. Not happening. All right, Aaron, take us away. Take us to 1986.
Okay. You guys,
What?
since we started this podcast, I've been thinking about one thing, and I didn't know it was 1986 until I started doing research, and I was like, oh my God, it's 1986.
I was there when that happened
Yeah.
when we were at the coffee shop.
This is, I'm hoping, I feel like the only other person out of the two of you that may remember this is Heath, or may have entered his zeitgeist, but do you remember Popples?
No.
Okay. Damn it.
What are
I don't remember
Popples?
them by name. Oh, shit.
What the
Yeah.
fuck is that?
Okay.
Oh my God.
I do not remember very much about the show. Popples started as a cartoon, but I remember a lot
Frankenstein.
about the toy. This toy folded into a ball, and then you could unpop
Oh,
it.
that sounds familiar, actually.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
that.
But the show is so much wilder than I remember because the whole idea is that they have some sort of void in their pouch and they could just pull things from it,
Oh,
like
God.
Mary Poppins style. Like
So,
it was
okay, so can we
real-
describe what this thing is? It's like a sort of Care Bear with like fox
Yeah,
ears.
it's got like a
Yeah.
long, like weird puffy tail, and it's got hair in different places.
Oh, that's a tail?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a,
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks a little bit like somebody at like a stuffed animal factory just took all the scraps.
Yeah, you're right.
And made a new thing.
Yeah, because the colors don't match.
I think
and
that this
yeah.
one is Puzzle.
Oh.
That's his name.
Oh, okay.
And he's more or less the bookworm of the bunch.
And by the way, remember, listeners, as always, we'll have visuals on
Always.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, looking at this, I'd be like, there's no way this thing can read. But good for him.
Also, he's known to be a good swimmer.
Oh.
I wouldn't have called that.
Multifaceted puzzle, friend.
Okay.
But I said it was an animated series. It was based on the toys. It started in the United States. It only ran for 1 year. So this is a very small market.
This is a very distinct moment in time.
Yes. So they kind of resemble colorful teddy bears, rabbits with long pom-pom tip tails. And they have pouches on their back that allow them to curl into a fuzzy ball. All of the Popples stutter when they say words with P in them.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Just with P?
Yeah, which is weird since they're called Popples.
Right, yeah.
And they're called that because it's a reference to the popping sound they make when they unfold themselves from the ball or when they pull objects from their pouches.
God.
Right. So
I don't like this at all.
9 of them live with a brother and sister, and they think that they're the only ones that have Popples until someone moves in next door and brought like edgier Popples that were like a rock Popple and like a sportsy Popple.
A what popple?
Sportsy
Oh.
Popple.
So they're more aggressive.
I thought you said
Because
horsey.
they came up with great names such as PC, which is short for pretty cool.
Nope. Nope.
Which was a large blue Popple who serves as the co-leader of the bunch, along with the Popple named Party.
Oh.
Party.
Large pink Popple who
Party
is
and
literally
puzzle
a party
Popple?
animal.
So does Party just have a bunch of uppers in his pouch?
Well, it's a she, and she'll find a reason to party anytime, day
Yeah,
or
she will.
night.
I feel that's a cry for help.
Especially because she's always pulling party hats and confetti from her pouch.
Confetti. Quote.
Which if you
Cocaine.
think about that... So Party is a dealer. Yep. Then we have Pancake, who's a large dark magenta Popple who is sweet and affectionate.
Nope.
She likes to tickle.
Oh, she's a predator. Shouldn't her name be Predator, not Pancake?
Yeah.
She was only in 10 episodes, not as popular as the other Popples,
Right, well.
unfortunately. And then we've already met Puzzle. There's also Prize, who is a hot pink Popple.
So we've got a thing for
Takes
P.
great pride in her appearance. Interesting. She also speaks in a Marilyn Monroe-esque voice.
Oh.
Let me be clear about something. As I started to do more research, I really started to question why this is such a core memory for me.
Yeah, I'm wondering that as well.
I don't really remember the show as much when I started, but I remember that I had a Popple and I was obsessed with the idea of getting more
Well,
Popples.
you were 5, right? Like
Yeah.
5-ish?
Yeah.
So prime age to be obsessed with something like this.
I think I really liked, I've always been a fan of like Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
And I think I really liked the satisfaction of putting this in a ball and then popping it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think there was something about that I liked. But when I read these, I thought, I'm not surprised this only lasted a year.
Yeah.
Like as a
Yeah.
parent, if you experienced Puffball, who is a white Popple who loves to throw her voice around, used her voice to trick and imitate people to get what she wanted.
This is teaching interesting behaviors.
This kind of is veering towards Gremlins area a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Like, they seem
Oh,
like
that's a good point. Was this trying to be like a nice gremlin?
It does kind of look
Maybe.
like that.
Yeah.
They seem mischievous.
Yes. The ears are doing it for me.
Yeah.
There's Putter, who is a small green Popple.
Good
Potato
God, how
Chip,
many-
who is the snacker of the group.
How many are
And
there?
then my personal most questionable
Chip.
one called Pretty Bit. A small purple Popple who almost always speaks in rhyme and is very shy.
Okay, so I'm going to need a marketing meeting on the development, not only of these creatures, but on the names. Like,
Drunk, bar, gross dudes. That's the whole marketing meeting. Pretty Bit. We came up with Pretty Bit.
Exactly.
And then, well, we need like, these potato chips are great at the bar. So
Yeah.
what did they come up with? Potato chip?
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Pretty Cool, because we
Right.
already had a PC one,
Yeah, well.
And party, I mean, duh.
obviously.
You're giving them more credit than I would, because to me it sounds like they just put a bunch of words in a bowl and they just picked
Yeah.
them out and it was like, party.
And they were all
This one's
P
named
words.
Party.
Yeah. P words. And at one point they pulled out pussy and they're like, too far. Too far.
Oh, just call it Pretty Bit. Call it Pretty Bit.
Pretty
Done.
bit. Yep.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I don't know why this, again, I've struggled with this for a couple days. Trying to remember specifically when I got the Popple, why I got the Popple. I have no actual memory of that, but
I'm glad that you got an actual Popple and not a terrifying knockoff like your Mother Goose thing.
I'm assuming it was.
Yeah.
I don't have any actual pictures of the popple I had, so I'm not sure. But I looked up 1986, and one of the things that popped up was popple, and I was like, "It's come. The time has come.
Finally, it's here.
The time has come for me to share."
Oh,
The Popples
Everything
are
I know
getting
about
the credit
Popples.
they deserve.
yes.
Yeah. So
Wow. All right, take us away, Heath. Somewhere else.
All right, I will take you
Away
somewhere
from
else.
these weird
Amy's
creatures.
so disturbed by popples.
I'm so
I love
disturbed.
it.
Do you remember the movie Three Amigos?
Oh my God, yes.
Well, that came out in December of 1986.
That's
You
where I
were
learned the
speaking
word
of.
plethora.
Yes. From El Guapo. Steve Martin and Martin Short and Chevy Chase play three actors who play a trio of heroic gunfighters in a series of movies, but are mistaken for actual heroes by a small village in Mexico, who are being harassed by the bandit El Guapo. Is it Guapo or El Guapo?
El Guapo.
Guapo. You see, the people from the village don't realize that the movies starring the Three Amigos are fictional. Mm-hmm. It's 1916, and they must be one of those villages that only watch documentaries,
Right.
or so they thought,
Yeah.
I guess. So, coincidentally, the Three Amigos find themselves out of work after demanding a salary increase for their next film, and soon after they receive a telegram from the village asking them to come and help and protect them from El Guapo. El Guapo? I'm going to keep saying it wrong now.
I could be totally right, but I think they call it El Guapo, which
Yeah.
is not right.
Well, and the actors, they think this is a job. They think this is an acting job. They don't get that they're actually being asked to, So it's got some real Three's Company vibes going on here. Lots of misunderstandings. So and I was just gonna, as well intentioned as everybody involved is, they all seem really stupid but endearing. Like everybody seems stupid but endearing, except for El Guapo. He's just seems.
Although he's kind of endearing at a few
Yes.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the actors, whose names are Lucky Day, Dusty Bottoms, and Ned Niederlander.
Forgot about Dusty Bottoms.
They head to the village in Mexico and inadvertently defend the village from El Guapo's men by performing stunts from the movies they've appeared in, right? So El Guapo and his men return the next day, and the actors think they're putting on another show until Lucky gets shot.
Oh.
He's very surprised that he got shot, because, again, he thinks they're just acting. So Lucky, Dusty, and Ned beg for mercy and explain that they're just actors, and El Guapo lets them live because, quote, he only kills men. Which reminds me, and we kind of referenced this earlier, which reminds me of those idiotic pro-life billboards
Yes.
that say real men love babies.
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense because no one has ever, ever, ever believed someone to be macho because they love babies. In fact, a man repeatedly proclaiming that he loves babies is a real red flag,
That's
everybody.
a real one.
That's a real red flag.
yeah.
So El Guapo's men raid the village and leave it a mess, also kidnapping Carmen, who's the nice gal who sent the initial telegram. The Three Amigos decide they must help and go rescue her before luring El Guapo's army back to the village, where they find all the villagers dressed in matching Three Amigos costumes. The bad guys don't know who the real Amigos are and end up getting shot by Amigos from all sides, which sounds...
Trickery.
Yeah. In the end, the villagers are really their own heroes, and since it turns out that Chevy Chase is such an enormous dickhead, I'm glad he's really not getting any credit here.
I love to when they go to. I love this movie so much. It's ridiculous, but I love when they're first trying to find the village or trying to find Carmen, and they show up at this bar, and they're in these outfits that are just like, like campy Western gear. Like
Right.
it's just And at some point, how do they do it? But they start singing.
Yeah.
And it's
There was a
"My
German,
little
right? Wasn't
buttercup."
there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about the German. Yeah. And so in this bar of all these tough people, they think these guys are like assassins or murderers or something. So meanwhile, they're like, "My little buttercup," and they're just like, "Okay, great." It's fantastic.
I don't know if I've ever seen this movie.
This would
Funny
be a good
movie.
one. Your kids would love this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that. This sounds right up Mason's alley.
Yeah, there was a lot of people were like Dan Aykroyd was gonna be in it. There was several other people, big, funny people at the time that were gonna be at one point in it.
Yeah, and at one point, El Guapo says the word, or no, his like henchman says the word plethora, and he's like, "Do you know what a plethora is?" And there's this whole exchange about, "Do you know what the word you're saying is? What it means?" And it goes back and forth. It's fantastic, but it's seared in my mind. I know what plethora
There
means.
is from, well, it was an educational experience.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also love that. I made this comment to you on Friday that I often steer away from movies between the two of you in the year because you have such a vast knowledge that I don't really compete in that arena. I did not see Three Amigos being Heath's
I did
first
not
pick
either.
out of the gate.
I did not either. That was a surprise.
And I love it.
I was telling Amy earlier that I wanted to talk about the movie Wildcats with Goldie Hawn, which I love.
Yes.
But just in my research of it and reading about it, there's lots of, stuff on it that, white savior stuff. And I didn't want to be all like,
It doesn't hold up
Right,
great.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It doesn't, pass the...
However,
I mean, neither did Popples, but I forged ahead.
a movie that does hold up great, you guys, is Labyrinth.
Oh, here it is.
Starring who? Who's
Starring
that actor?
Yeah, who's in that?
a young, beautiful man named David Bowie. So Labyrinth features puppets from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, as well as the main character, Sarah, who's a teenager, who is a very young Jennifer Connelly. And Sarah is obsessed with this weird-ass book called The Labyrinth. And at the beginning, she's even doing like one-woman plays from the thing. It's real weird. She's a weird teenager. We get that right from the jump. Okay,
Love it.
By the way, Jennifer Connelly beat out, for this role, Helena Bonham Carter, Jane Krakowski, Sarah Jessica Parker, Marissa Tomei, Laura Dern, and Ali Sheedy.
Ooh, that's a list.
Wow, her audition must have been stellar.
Must have been something. So anyway, Sarah, she goes home after this one-act play to no one. She goes home to babysit her infant brother, and he's crying like babies do. And her stepmom has given the baby one of Sarah's stuffed animals, and she's pissed. Oh, so naturally, she wishes that the kid would be taken by goblins.
Natural progression of things. Yes.
And then, by making that wish, the best part of the movie comes, which is the arrival of the Goblin King, Jareth. And as we mentioned, Jareth is a resplendent, bizarre, very tightly clad, like you see everything kind of outfit, David Bowie, who you instantly want to win. I say, take the kid. I don't care.
Yep.
Like, you're awesome.
It's yours now.
It's yours now.
Well, I mean, as we learned, real men and real goblins love babies. So.
Yep.
And by the way, I didn't say anything about his hair. His hair is something in this. It has height. It has volume. It has a weird, like you don't want to run your fingers through it, but yet you do.
You do.
If that's
Sounds like
what-
a Pantene commercial.
Missed
So
opportunity.
Jareth offers Sarah everything she could want if she grants him the baby, which is weird because he's already sort of stolen the baby, but there's got to be a whole like permission thing going on apparently.
Okay. Well, goblins have rules.
They have rules.
Yeah.
They have rules of engagement.
Yeah.
And she says she says no because she's changed her mind. So the king says, "Great, you have 13 hours. You got to solve my creepy labyrinth." Which, by the way, he probably uses for sex games. I mean, I see no other use for this thing besides luring
No, I
teenagers.
think that's the
in.
only conclusion.
Yeah.
Luring.
Yeah. If she doesn't solve this labyrinth, the baby's going to turn into a goblin.
Is
Again,
that worse?
And at
Do
this
we not
point,
want a goblin
right,
baby?
at this point, she's decided no, she doesn't want that.
Okay.
Because I think she's afraid of her parents getting mad at her.
Do you think they'd even notice? Like, I don't know. If I had a baby and someone took it and brought me a goblin, I'd be like, I don't know. Is this the same thing?
Same thing.
Yeah.
So Sarah starts her journey through the labyrinth where she meets lots of puppet creatures on the way, including Hoggle, Ludo, a dog riding another dog. It's chaos in there. All right. Meanwhile, Jareth is vamping it up with his goblin army, and he's singing "You Remind Me of the Babe" and 5 other songs. 5 total songs appear in this movie, which is weird because it's not really a musical, but yet it sort of is because David Bowie's in it. So Sarah finally makes her way through, and she confronts Jareth in this staircase scene, and the staircases are like MC Escher type staircases, and David Bowie is singing to her, which is weird because at this point, by the way, she's had a dream. It doesn't show this, but it's basically a sex dream where Jareth proclaims his love for her, and they dance at a ball. So there's this weird sexual thing going on, no matter the fact that the king is at least twice her age. But he's David Bowie.
But it's David Bowie. Yeah.
So she finally defeats Jareth by reciting from that stupid book at the beginning.
Oh.
Which sucks because it's saying like some sort of thing like drama's going to defeat David Bowie. No, that's dumb. It's blasphemous. The movie didn't do very well in the U.S. It did slightly better in the U.K.
Okay.
There were mixed reviews at the time. but as time has passed, it's been reevaluated. It's considered sort of a cult
I
classic.
was going to say, okay.
I'm gonna say I rewatched it a couple years ago. It's real weird. It's I can't explain my love for it except for the fact that maybe even as a kid, I was way more entertained by Bowie than the puppets.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it started my lifelong thing of falling in love with the villains in the movies, as well as my obsession with David Bowie.
I think it speaks to your ability to see, like, oh, there's a story here. Like, I want to know more about that Goblin King.
Maybe, or it's just something
Maybe
to
it
the
was the
effect of
pants.
they get hotter when they're evil. I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
Because like when we went to see Spider-Man, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal, when it was revealed that he was the bad guy, I leaned to Heath and was like, "Why is he so much hotter now?"
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Also, you really liked the guy that was cutting up people in the kitchen.
I
In that
did.
movie with Melissa
I
McCarthy,
really did.
yeah.
Donald Gleason.
And that, in fact, is when you leaned over, was when he was sawing someone up in
Yeah.
the bathtub, and you're like, he's so hot. And I was like, I mean,
See, it's a thing, and I think it started maybe here at Labyrinth, where I was like, "He's a bad dude, but whew, he's in my heart."
but he's wormed his way into my heart.
So yes, David Bowie, just being a Goblin King, Labyrinth
Amazing.
by Amy Lee Lillard.
That's perfection. Well, this is kind of a weird one.
Weirder than Popples?
It's weirder than
Oh,
Popples.
all right. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not as, outwardly concerning as Popples, but it's just it's like one of those things that if you heard, you would think it was an urban myth, but this did actually happen in 1986. Otis elevators, I think we're all familiar. You've been in an elevator, right? You see the Otis sign. They were being sued by a woman from Michigan because they also produced escalators, and she fell on one and broke her nose at Walt Disney World.
Oh,
So she sued Walt Disney World and Otis Elevator. Okay, fine. Court case is about to start. We need to bring the jury in and pick jury members. Where are these people? They're stuck in an elevator.
Oh.
On the way
Oh,
to
shit.
the Florida courtroom for the case against Otis Elevator. They got caught and stuck in an Otis elevator for 20 minutes. It wasn't very long. The fire department came, got him out. Apparently, the judge in the case said this was happening frequently. They were old elevators that needed to be serviced. In a questionable move, the judge did not remove any of them from the case. He allowed them all to sit and get selected for jury. And in no surprise, they awarded the lady money and
oh my God.
voted against Otis Elevator. So I would imagine at the time that there was a lot of discussion about appeal, because if you get caught in an elevator and then...
Well, it also seems like the judge shouldn't have said this happens all the time. That
Right,
seems
yeah,
to be
that's-
tainting the
yeah.
jury pool.
Yeah, it was all very... And I don't know if he
Judge
said
had
that...
a grudge against Otis
He
Elevator.
might have. Yeah, because he had... And I don't know if he just said that in an interview or he said it in the courtroom, but he mentioned that like 2 weeks prior, he had gotten a jury was caught in an elevator for a certain amount of time.
How many times do these people have to get caught in an elevator before they stop putting them in that elevator?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's a
might
good
be in
call.
a position that it's stairs today.
Yeah.
Although maybe they put up a barrier and people were like, "I don't see it." Whoa.
I'll just get on this elevator. But in my attempt to, first of all, I could find hardly anything out about the case about how the lady broke her nose. I was very interested to know why it was the escalator's fault.
Right.
Because I've seen some questionable behavior on escalators.
Sure.
So I'm not entirely sure that I can hold Otis responsible.
Right.
I
Because
could
all you
find
got to
a-
do on an escalator is just stand there. And if you're
Right.
doing anything but just stand there.
Even if
then-
it stops suddenly,
Right.
if you're just standing, there really shouldn't be. So unless her foot got, there was
Yeah.
some kind of malfunction like that. And she was awarded $135,000, which,
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, I happened upon Otis's website,
Oh.
and the first thing on their website is 5 steps to follow if you're stuck in an elevator. Which felt like a public service that I had to bring because
That's weird that that's on like the homepage.
the
of their website.
homepage.
I'm
website.
fascinated by
I
that.
did no digging.
So does that mean there's just a shit ton of these cases happening that we just don't
I
know?
think it's happening more than we realize.
And at some point they said, "Listen, you got to devote your homepage
you
to
need
rules
to just
of the road."
put the steps out, and that will help you with your liability.
Okay.
Step 1 is remain calm and do not attempt to leave the cab without first being cleared to do so.
Where would you go?
Right. That we're stuck.
Okay.
So, uh-huh.
Okay.
2, which is an interesting follow-up to 1. To request assistance, use the elevator's emergency button.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah.
3, keep your distance from the door at all times and do not try and force the doors open.
Whew.
4, remember that the elevator has air circulation openings, so there will be no limit on available air inside the cab.
So in other words, you will not suffocate unless you're there for like days.
Which is number 4. Again, on the homepage of Otis Elevator, you won't run out of air. You will be fine.
So calm down. Quit your bitching.
Number 5, wait for qualified assistance to
Oh,
arrive.
oh.
Only a qualified technician or the fire department, which is interesting that you put those in 2 different categories,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
should perform a rescue if one is deemed necessary.
Wow.
So do you have to ask for credentials? Like if someone's like, I'm here to help you, you
Show
have to
me
be
your
like,
badge.
Are you a qualified technician? I am not interested. I have enough air and I know how to use the emergency button.
I am just fine. Thank you.
However, what these 5 things do not address is my biggest fear about being caught in an elevator,
Which is?
the bathroom situation.
I was going to say, establish a
Right?
pee corner.
I want to be stuck in an elevator with Heath because he got it immediately.
Yeah, that should be number 1.
Yeah.
It's so true. If that happens, I'm going to have to pee immediately. Just from anxiety.
Just from anxiety.
And then that's all I'm going to be able to think about.
all I'm going to be able to think about. Air didn't even enter my mind.
No.
I never thought, wow, this cab's going to run out of air.
But it is, I mean, sometimes maybe the elevator's not quite totally even. Like there might be a little bit of,
Exactly. So a natural drainage situation.
So if you're in there and like it's dark and you pick the
Yeah.
wrong corner, it's just going to come at you.
Oh, God. This sounds like a horror movie.
Immediately, I was thinking about this, like how I would traverse this, and I know what would happen because these people were only caught in there for 20 minutes. I know I would feel like that was forever.
Yeah.
So what would happen is that they would get the doors open. There would be the strongest odor of urine and be like, why did you all need a pee corner already? Like it's been 20 minutes.
I've got a nervous bladder.
Yeah. And I'd be like, well, that was all me.
Or what if you're in the situation where you're like, okay, I really got to go, but the bathroom's up on the 2nd floor. I just got to take the elevator.
Oh.
And then, oh, shit, we're stuck.
I think what we've learned
is
today
coming.
is don't do that.
That's
Because
true.
I think this is happening more than I ever realized.
Apparently.
But I loved I really, when I read this article, I thought that's not true. There's no way that's true. And then I did some digging and it is in fact true.
Whew.
So.
I have been caught trapped in an elevator.
You
before.
have?
What?
Yeah. In our building, our home downtown, it's 4 floors and there's an elevator. And I came home one night after work and I had asked Michael to take out the recycling that morning, and he did not do it.
Oh, no.
So this is Michael's fault.
This is so bad. And then you got caught in an elevator.
So I got the recycling. I went out to the elevator because it was down in the parking garage, and I took it down there. And I got back in the elevator, and I was coming back up, and everything went dark, and it stopped moving.
He.
And you were alone.
I was alone. Luckily I had my phone with me,
Oh, my God.
and so I texted Michael, and I was like, I told him what was happening, and of course at the same time I'm like doing updates on Facebook. I'm like, I'm trapped in the elevator. And it wasn't very long. It was not very long that I was trapped in there. But when they got me out, I was about 1.5 feet from our floor.
What?
Like, had I gone like 60 seconds earlier, I would have been up and the door would have been open when the power went out. Because the power went out all in a big section of downtown.
Oh.
Right. So
Did you have to use the emergency button?
No, that's why I was texting Michael. I was like, can you call someone and have them come and help me? Because I think I hit the button and I don't think it did anything. If I remember.
Because the power
right.
was out. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the takeaway here was that had Michael done what I asked him to.
God damn it, Michael.
I figured that's where you were going when
Yeah.
you said, yeah.
But also good on you for taking your phone. This means I have to take my phone everywhere I go.
I'm really sorry that I brought up trauma for you today. I didn't
Yeah.
intend to. I brought Popples right in your face and then said, hey, remember when you were caught in an elevator? Relive that. What level of, like, did your panic, was it rising as the minutes passed, or were you able to stay calm?
I stayed mostly calm because I just felt like, I don't know, I just knew the power had gone out. That I
Yeah.
figured out. So
Yeah.
I was just like, obviously we just got to wait till the power comes back on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was weird that I was like, are they going to like try to open the door? Like, am I going to have to be like pulled up out of here? 'Cause I
Right.
didn't know where I was. I had no idea like in the how close I was to an actual floor.
I don't like any part of that. I don't want any of it.
I'm not interested in any of this. Whew.
And also, it feels like that's what this show has become, is reliving our trauma in
Right.
front of each other
Yeah.
and everyone that's listening.
Everyone that's listening.
Well, it was funny. I remember Michael saying that he came home and he walked into the house and like the door was unlocked.
Oh, yeah.
And I had set something on the counter, so he knew I had been home from work, but he didn't know where I was. So he knew something
That's a
was
learning.
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
And the
boy.
whole time he's like, shit, I'm going to get so much shit for this recycling.
That's right. He was like, this is all my fault. Yeah. My dear love is stuck in the elevator because I didn't take the recycle. I'm going to file this away and remember to always take it out.
I'm not sure that was his takeaway, but
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds right, knowing Mike.
That tracks. Yep.
All right. What do you got next?
a young gal named Madonna
Oh!
put out a song in 1986, and that song was called Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh. It was the second single from her third album, True Blue. The song tackles one of the hot topics of the day, teen pregnancy and the choices that come with it. And I don't know, is that still a hot topic today?
Yeah,
I
no,
don't,
we've solved that.
I
It's
don't
fine.
really hear about teen
Yeah.
pregnancy anymore. I don't know if it's just based on who I hang out
Oh,
with.
you're about to hear about it a lot more.
Now we're just talking about pregnancy for everyone,
Okay.
not just teens. Yeah.
I was going to say, and who would have thought that, 28 years after the song was released, pregnant teens would actually have fewer choices now.
Imagine that.
than they did
Yeah.
back then.
Fun. Cool.
Yeah, so pour one out for progress,
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
The song was actually praised by critics who said that it kind of was a sign of artistic growth for Madonna. And in the video, she plays a girl trying to tell her father that she's got a bun in the oven, and the acting is a solid B-, I would say. Which is, for Madonna, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. That's Danny Aiello, isn't it? Her dad. Yeah.
Yep. And those scenes are broken up throughout the video by shots of Madonna dancing in a dark studio because you better dance while you can still see your feet, is what I always say. The song caused an uproar with women's organizations and family planning groups because the lyrics of the song state that she's going to keep her baby. And they felt like Madonna was kind of encouraging teen pregnancy. And I can kind of see their point, but I also don't think anyone wants to get pregnant when they're a teenager, no matter how much Madonna sings about it. Like, no one's teens aren't intentionally getting pregnant,
Yeah,
right?
no, I think that's a fad we're not going to follow. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't find any stats on the internet that supported a surge in teen pregnancies after this song came out. Like sometimes people are like snowstorms. Well, a bunch of people get pregnant when there's a snowstorm.
So there was no chart tying watching Papa Don't Preach video to 9 months later.
Nope, I couldn't find
Babies.
it. I could not find it.
I remember one of those response videos that a church made where it was like, Madonna don't preach. And it was all these like old white people in a, like, you could tell it was like a conference room or something, just like, da, 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 trying to be cool and hip and respond to it. It was bad. It was real bad.
That's another great marketing meeting.
Right.
At the church meeting Wednesday night. And then he's like, I rewrote the lyrics. It'll be Madonna, don't preach.
I mean, this is going to do it, guys.
Yeah.
This is gonna really show her that she's in the wrong.
Yeah, the kids are going to love it.
Kids are going to love it.
They're going to love it. In an ironic and very non-Madonna style twist, the pro-lifers were 100% on board with this messaging.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. They didn't care how many teens allegedly got pregnant as long as none of them got an abortion and none of them asked for support of any kind from their community or government after the baby was born.
That's right.
That's probably one of the
tracks.
few times the pro-lifers and Madonna have been.
Yeah, I mean, that Venn diagram is
yeah.
real
Yeah, not much overlap.
separate. Yeah.
There's been a few times in my life where I have maybe sat in the bathroom or on a bed and thought, I have fucked up. And
First off, great introduction to whatever story you're about to tell.
And I feel like when Madonna realized she was aligned with pro-life,
Right.
that might have been one of the times she sat on her bed and went, well, this went a different
And
way.
maybe that's why she went like a prayer and went to like burning crosses and like
Yeah.
making love with Jesus, a black Jesus, no doubt. And like, maybe that's why.
She's like,
she
I
went
have to
so
swing
hard.
completely the other
Yep.
way. That is my
Yes.
only option.
Yes, we have to overcorrect.
Yeah.
So Madonna's performed this song on several concert tours over the years. In 1987, on the Who's That Girl World Tour, she dedicated the song to Pope John Paul II because he urged people to boycott her concerts.
low-key burn. I like it.
And I feel like he only did that because he was kind of jealous because her gowns were probably more ornate than his.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And she could afford like 6 golf carts, and
Right,
he only
yeah.
had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly whatever it was real petty and bitchy. If anyone knows anything about Pope John Paul II, he was petty
Bitchy.
and bitchy.
Petty Betty, that guy.
She most recently performed the song on her 2019 Madam X World Tour. And she turned 61 in that 2019. And I would have been a real hoot to hear a 61-year-old celebrate seeing the pregnancy to term. It takes on a different vibe when a 61-year-old's singing it.
Our friend Eric just went to see Madonna recently. Did she sing it there? Do you remember? If
He did not say.
Yeah.
He did not say.
So that'd be weird too. Yeah.
So in 2002, in the wake of the success of her family's reality show on MTV, Kelly Osbourne released a cover of the song. And it was dumb and terrible, and Pope John Paul II didn't say a thing about it.
I remember that.
Uh-huh.
It was
don't remember
bad.
Uh-huh. No, I don't have nice things to say about Kelly Osbourne.
Was she actually good at singing? I don't remember. Okay,
I
no.
don't think so.
All right.
No.
Huh.
No.
I'm sure it was very, very auto-tuned or corrected.
Yeah.
Well, my next one is when an entire generation had a shared moment of trauma, which was the Challenger explosion.
Uh-huh.
Oh, shoot.
What's so wild to me is that the one space shuttle that exploded was the one that all children across America were watching.
Yes. Well,
Because it
why
had a
did they
teacher
do
aboard.
that to us?
Insane that was the mashup, that's what happened.
I was in preschool and we watched it.
I was going to ask if you were watching. I knew
Yes.
you were so young. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That
They're like,
seems
"Watch this."
ill-advised, but...
Which I can see young kids, cool space thing. Like, let's do something with them today that keeps them occupied.
They
but...
were at a loss. Wow. Well, that backfired.
Yeah.
And it feels like if a god existed, he, she, they were really just going for full-scale generational trauma. It was like an experiment. Like, what can we do to Generation X to really, fuck with them? Funny joke. So, on January 28th, Space Shuttle with Krista McAuliffe, who is a teacher from New Hampshire, took off. She was picked from a national screening process in 1984 from 11,000 teachers across the country. And we were talking about this on Friday. Like, how do you even start going through those applications? And half of them they didn't do their name right, so they were able to, cross them off. The goal was, once she was picked, that she was going to conduct at least 2 lessons from orbit in the shuttle. And then afterwards spend the following 9 months going around the U.S. and talking about, going to spark interest in high-tech careers and in space and all the things. The goal of the shuttle also was they were going to launch a satellite, just a general satellite, but also one to see Halley's Comet a little closer, because that was around this time, too. So, unfortunately, 1 minute into takeoff, when it was being broadcast live everywhere, it just fully exploded, and all 7 people died. And what's crazy, I didn't really remember what the investigation afterward had said. So I found some very interesting things, which was that the night before they had the shuttle parked at Kennedy Space Center, the landing pad, and there was a cold front that night and came through and just ice everywhere, significant ice. I saw a picture of it. It was like remember when there were those crazy icicles hanging from my roof over it was gnarly. And so despite concerns, I guess that morning, the team is looking at it and it's like, oh shit, this may not be good, whatever. They delayed the launch, but then they're like, nope, it's fine. It's going to be fine. A seal on one of the boosters weakened from the cold and failed, and the fuel tank tore apart. And afterwards, too, a number of engineers said that they'd been talking about these seals for 2 years. These seals, they're not, solid. They're not reliable. This is going to be a problem. They had also warned the superiors about a possible failure the night before it was launched.
Oof.
And they and other engineers were saying just overall that NASA was pushing too hard. They were pushing so hard to stay relevant. Around this time, I didn't realize this, Reagan was trying to privatize space. So kind of looking for a, time like we have now with billionaire penis rockets. But at the time, NASA was still the space people, right? But they were really trying to stay relevant, so they had come up with this plan. They had come up with other things. They came up with a movie, Space Camp, which was going to come out later this year and show, oh my God, look at these kids going to space camp. And the whole plot of that, though, was about the fact that they go up and then they can't come back down. Like, it's a whole, like, space catastrophe thing. And so they were going to have a huge marketing. This was going to be the movie of the summer, and they had to back off all of that. I don't even remember if it must have gone to theaters.
I remember it coming out, in theaters.
And I remember watching it a lot. But yeah, that was a backfire too. But so the space program after this was never the same, it may have opened up the field for that privatization that Reagan was looking for. And so yeah, it's sad in so many ways. The actual crash, the what it did for space, this agency that had been, at the forefront of exploration for so long, and for us, it's fucking kids. I remember. Did you watch it?
I remember watching it. Yeah.
I don't think we watched it, but I do remember our principal came on the intercom in elementary school and like announced it over the intercom. And I'm like, well, how did that make sense to just announce it to all these children that, hey, the space shuttle exploded?
Yeah.
What was that?
And then leave the teachers to be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an amazing documentary on Netflix.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, and it came out a couple of years ago, I think, and I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, but Mike and I watched it. It's like 3 or 4 parts, and it delves a lot into Kristen McAuliffe's life and her family. They have a lot of reaction from her family who were there. They talk to the engineers. They talk to a lot of the people kind of about the whole Reagan side of it, and the people that were saying, like, we have to, I think they had delayed the launch before, like it was supposed to happen, I want to say either a few days or a week before, and something had happened, and this time there was like this crazy pressure that, no, you have to do it today, everybody thinks it's today, and there were people that were like, no,
yeah,
but...
Seems unwise to do it in January if we're worried about this too. Like I know it's Florida, but Jesus.
It seems unwise. Like if you had a weather situation, I mean, why wouldn't you want just the best conditions no matter what?
Yeah.
Like it's okay. Even before that day, you had to know that there was probably some level of forecasting that maybe this wasn't going to be favorable. But
yeah,
it's really interesting and kind of the backside of how they even got to that point of, yeah, it's heartbreaking, but it was also really fascinating to understand everything that was going on behind the scenes. Because, as kids, all we remember is like the trauma of, oh, that exploded.
Yeah. This thing that we're all hyped up about because it's teacher and this is cool. It's just such a bizarre circumstance that's what happened. Yeah.
I'd like to know what Kim Reynolds was doing that day because it does feel like, we had a fair number of females on that, and she seems really set against any kind of female advancement.
Yeah,
so
I'd
like to know what was up with her that day.
She watched Papa Don't Preach, and she was like,
yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kim Reynolds, by the way, listeners, is our Iowa governor who is a reprehensible human being.
Reprehensible.
She sucks.
This year, she repealed a Gender Equality on State Committees Act because Iowans, quote, will just do the right thing. What?
That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, okay.
She's one of the nuts that's raving about wokeness and everything. And so our state has gone back several decades in progress. But cool.
Cool.
All
Fun
good.
lady. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring you an amazing marketing meeting.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
From 1986.
I cannot wait.
This one is thanks to the United Way.
Okay.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh.
Scene is set September 27th, 1986. The local chapter of United Way says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put ourselves on the map. We're going to set a Guinness record and do a fundraiser at the same time. And we are going to release 1.5 million balloons. And what they thought, I can only say stupidly, would be a harmless publicity stunt.
And how is doing that helping charities?
Right.
Apparently, you could buy a sponsorship of 2 balloons for $1.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know why you would, because their whole idea was that they were just going to float up, and they were helium-filled latex balloons. And generally, that will deflate by the time it comes back to Earth. Apparently, in my research, there were also people that believed that the balloon would disintegrate on its way back down.
Okay, so we're dealing with real top-notch
Real dum-dums,
smarties.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because couple problems. One,
They needed a wind scientist is what they needed.
they did. Oh my God. You're right. I know this is hard to believe, but balloons are hard to control. Especially in large
Like kids with
groups.
autism.
You're right. We don't deflate as we're supposed to.
Or disintegrate.
Don't. Damn it.
Also, no one did any amount of research, apparently.
Okay, that sounds right.
And normally it will sort of deflate. I'm still not entirely sure what the long-term plan was, all of those balloons deflating and falling back down. But what actually happened was that all these balloons hit a cold front and rain, and chaos ensued because nothing deflated. Nothing. So the airport had to shut down.
What?
Because mass amounts of balloons were on the runway. Traffic was complete stop on interstates because there was huge. The Coast Guard had to call off a search for 2 boaters that were missing because there were so many balloons they couldn't see.
Oh my God.
And tragedy.
Feels like a Will Ferrell movie or something.
Those
like,
2 boaters died. They found, they
Oh,
couldn't
geez.
restart. Yeah, they drowned.
because of fucking balloons.
Yeah. So after all that, believe it or not, United Way faced some lawsuits. People were pissed. People were pissed. So they called that fundraiser a loss. Unfortunately, they marked up a loss for
It
that
doesn't
one.
sound fun.
No. And again, I think now we know the environmental impact of a balloon. I mean, that's been well documented, especially for wildlife, birds, things that end up eating those items. So I still don't know. I couldn't find anywhere that anyone did the next step of saying, okay, that's great if they do deflate. But even if 1.5 million balloons deflate.
So we just got balloons
That's a
dropping
lot of-
from the skies.
That's a lot of garbage.
yeah, so wasteful.
And I don't know if that's where the sponsorship came in. Like you were going to find a balloon in your yard that was deflated and be like, oh, State Farm. And then put it in the trash or what? I don't know.
State Farm knows what they're doing.
Yeah. So when I think about this, I like to think of the marketing meeting that went into this.
Absolutely.
When they were like, we need something really fun and catchy.
Yeah.
Well, let's do the Guinness Book of World Records. What can we do it for? And some guy was like, oh, I'll grow my fingernails out for years. And they were like, yeah, that's not immediate
Gross
enough.
Ted.
Yeah.
Ted, quit suggesting
Ted.
this.
We're never doing that idea, Ted, no matter what. But old Greg came in and he said,
Good old Greg.
1.5 million balloon release.
So Greg came in with the idea fully formed.
Fully formed.
The amount
1.5
and
million.
everything.
Because, and he said, look, we'll get high school students to fill them and we'll give them a t-shirt. They'll do it for free, which they did.
So, okay.
They got a bunch of high school students to fill the balloons and just gave them a t-shirt.
Huh. That's child labor.
Well,
And complicit.
I was going to say they're also, part of someone's death.
Yeah, they're murderers.
Yeah, it's part of the
They're
crime.
accomplices.
Apparently there was some sort of large mesh structure that held the balloons. I don't know if Greg came with the idea that they were all going to fall back into the same area. I'm not sure what his level of understanding of gravity, anything really was.
Greg,
We're confused about his. But either way, the United Way had a big old mess to clean up.
oh my God. Literally and
balloons.
metaphorically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't. It's worse than Taco Bell in Mexico.
That's saying something.
That is saying something. That's
something, right?
Yeah.
Because what were you... I still don't understand, even if they deflated, what you thought was going to happen with 1.5 million deflated balloons. You know how much ground that would cover?
Yeah.
I can't imagine being on like a plane, like you're flying into Cleveland, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Sorry, we can't land. We've got to divert
Got
to
a
somewhere
balloon
else
situation."
because there's a bunch of balloons." I'd be like, "Pardon me, what?"
Yeah,
I mean, on the plus side, you're not going to Cleveland,
Very true.
that's true.
Yeah.
but yeah, that's also I would feel like that was an unsatisfactory explanation.
I feel like someone at that marketing meeting was like, listen, they're just going to keep going up and then they'll go into space. It'll be fine. It'll
fine.
clear it up for us.
And then, somebody else at the table was like, yeah, I heard they disintegrate on the way back down. And he's like, well, then what are we waiting
perfect.
for? 1.5 million balloon launch. Put it into action.
Man, we are smart. We have thought this through.
And I would
Let's
like
do
to
it.
know, I'd like to have live video from that time of Greg's face
Yeah.
as they all went up and then just
He's patting
settled
himself
over
on
Cleveland.
the back, like, look at what I've wrought.
and then
he's
each
like,
day,
oh, God.
Tuesday, he found out that 2 boaters were dead.
Yeah.
Wednesday, he found out that there was a big fine from the, Federal Aviation Agency. Just every day
Poor
things
Greg.
are coming in. What's interesting about this is that the fundraiser was already at a loss before the lawsuits. It cost more money to put it on than they made.
Oh my God. I mean, you've brought some doozies, but
I can't get over it. I've thought about it for 3 days now. Every time, I mean, not every time I see a balloon, because I don't see balloons that much, but
but now when you do see balloons.
yeah.
You'll think of Cleveland and Greg.
All right, what's next, Heath? What's final for you?
I bring to you a television show called Designing Women.
Oh my God, you've been waiting your whole life for this.
Love designing women.
It premiered in September 1986 and revolves around the employees of an interior design firm, Sugarbaker and Associates. I believe the working title for the show was Golden Girls, Younger and in Atlanta. But,
Which we would have watched.
right, I would have also watched it. The show starred Dixie Carter as Julia Sugarbaker, a.k.a. Dorothy. Delta Burke as her sister Suzanne, a.k.a. Blanche. Jean Smart as office manager Charlene, a.k.a. Rose. And Annie Potts as Mary Jo, a.k.a. Sophia. Delivery man Anthony, played by the late, great Meshack Taylor, a.k.a. Hollywood, from the film Mannequin that we've discussed here.
That's right.
He was a recurring character the first couple seasons on the show and then became a full cast member starting in season 3. And his character was an ex-convict turned law student who was a delivery man for Sugarbakers, but then made a full partner because I guess he delivered the fuck out of that shit.
Sure did.
Yeah, he did.
That's our partner material.
Yep. Several episodes revolve around the core cast interacting with someone, whether they were a client or from someone's personal life, who was biased or prejudiced in some way. And when that happened, most of the time, near the end of the episode, they'd push Julia Sugarbaker too far, and she'd unload on them in a perfectly delivered, devastatingly executed monologue from which they would probably never recover.
Oh my God. I wish I had that power.
Me too.
My favorite of all those monologues was from just the second episode of the whole show, where Julia overhears Marjorie Lee Winnick, an old nemesis of Suzanne's from her pageant days, talking shit about Suzanne. They're backstage at a child's beauty pageant in which Charlene signed up Mary Jo's daughter without Mary Jo knowing.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I have for you now the complete text of that monologue.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Do we have a dramatic interpretation? Oh my God. Oh my God.
this is what my day needed.
That monologue making its its debut on Fuzzy Memories.
Oh God.
And hopefully on its way to its rightful place in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Because that's where it should be.
I hope that this becomes something that actors all practice and then deliver in their
Yes.
auditions.
Julia Sugarbaker. I'm Julia Sugarbaker, Suzanne Sugarbaker's sister. I couldn't help overhearing part of your conversation. Marjorie. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was here. Julia Sugarbaker. Yes, I gather from your comments there are a couple of other things you don't know, Marjorie. Ooh. For example, you probably didn't know that Suzanne was the only contestant in Georgia pageant history to sweep every category except congeniality, and that is not something the women in my family aspire to anyway. Or that when she walked down the runway in her swimsuit, 5 contestants quit on the spot. Or that when she emerged from the isolation booth to answer the question, what would you do to prevent war, she spoke so eloquently of patriotism, battlefield, and diamond tiaras, grown men wept. And you probably didn't know, Marjorie, that Suzanne was not just any Miss Georgia. She was the Miss Georgia. She didn't just twirl a baton. That baton was on fire. And when she threw that baton into the air, it flew higher, further, faster than any baton has ever flown before, hitting a transformer and showering the darkened arena with sparks. And when it finally did come down, Marjorie, my sister caught that baton, and 12,000 people jumped to their feet for 16.5 minutes of uninterrupted thunderous ovation as flames illuminated her tear-stained face. And that, Marjorie, just so you will know, and your children will someday know, is the night the lights went out in Georgia.
Wow.
Amazing. That is, I'm shocked silence. It was terrific.
Also, I'm a little scared by Suzanne now with her solving the world's problems through patriotism and war and diamond tiaras.
Yes, yeah. Grown man wept.
I mean, that speech has kind of taken on a life of its own. It was even featured in a Lip Sync for Your Life on RuPaul's Drag Race.
my
Like, instead of doing a song,
God.
they performed this. They lip sync to it. Yeah, and besides all the times that Julia Sugarbaker kind of reamed somebody, the show is also pretty well known for the producers of the show fighting with Delta Burke through most of the 5th season.
Oh.
Before her character was written out of the show. And Jean Smart also left at the end of that season to spend more time with her young child, and the show kind of never really recovered because they sort of recast those roles.
They recast them?
Well, they didn't recast them. There were new characters that were basically they were trying to be the same thing as the other characters instead of just going in a new direction. And obviously, you're just sort of, people were just constantly reminded that it wasn't the other people.
Yeah.
And Dixie Carter, who played Julia Sugarbaker, wasn't nearly as liberal as the character she played. The internet says that she was a libertarian leaning Republican.
Nope.
Poop.
She supported civil rights and same-sex marriage, but she did cut a deal with producers that for every time she delivered a liberal-leaning monologue, that she'd get to sing a song in a future episode. That was she liked singing, and they'd figure out a way to work her in singing. So.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
What a terrible deal.
God damn it! I was just thinking.
God damn it!
Man.
She has this over a barrel. Give her a song.
I was just thinking, maybe this is a show to rewatch, and now I feel weird about it.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
God damn it.
Still, it's designing
That,
women.
Just so you will know, and someday your children will know.
Yeah.
Is designing women.
Wow. How do you feel after delivering that monologue?
I felt the same way I felt in that restaurant that night where I said, I got money to spend in here.
Yep.
That's, yeah.
You have delivered on a lifelong dream.
Yeah.
You did it well.
Yeah.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you.
It feels so complete.
Yeah.
I just love
And
that.
if this doesn't become a viral thing that then they lip sync to on Drag Race,
Yeah.
I don't know culture at all.
I don't either. What are we even doing?
What are we doing?
Get it together.
I've seen them play that clip in bars and gay bars a lot. They play it a lot. And, I mean, and the place will go silent. I just watch that scene. And like when songs are playing, it doesn't get quiet.
Oh
People
my
keep talking,
God.
but yeah, it's a part of the culture.
Well, for my last thing, I just have a roundup of weird or later revealed devastating news.
Oh.
I've got 3 things that weren't long enough to speak about each of them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I just wanted to, list off this roundup.
Devastate us, Amy, please.
I'm ready, and I'm going to do it. So, Tennessee
Oh.
has a county named Scott County.
I thought you were just leaving it as Tennessee. I was like, just the state? Oh, no.
1986
Tennessee's
was
the
a
story.
shitty year for Tennessee.
Yeah. No, Tennessee has a county named Scott County. And in the Civil War, that county broke away from the rest of the state and joined the Union. So they were like, screw you guys. You're fighting for the Confederacy. We're going to join the Union. I don't know how they thought that worked geographically, but it did. But what happened then is they technically did not rejoin the state until 1986.
Oh.
Oh.
So all this time, they've just been living lawless without any regulation, nothing. Until 1986, they were like, oh, shit.
Oh.
We're still a part of the Union, which doesn't really exist. So that's where Scott County was at.
Because there was one guy in that county that kept bringing it up.
Yeah.
Laws don't apply here. We're part of the
Exactly.
Union. And they were like,
Yeah, yeah.
we really got to solve this problem.
Yeah, we got to solve this problem. Because good old Jerry over there is just,
It's always Jerry.
it's always Jerry. Second item is 5-year-old Levin Merritt fell into a gorilla enclosure at a zoo and lost consciousness. But don't worry, because Jambo, the gorilla, came to the rescue, standing guard over the boy, even petting him while he was unconscious. And he placed himself between the boy and other gorillas. It's like, nuh-uh, this boy is mine. And then
Like Monica and Brandy. I think that's what that song is based on.
Jambo, you're right. And so he protected the boy until they were able to fish him out. And I wonder now if that 5-year-old boy remembers his time with Jambo at all.
I hope he does.
I hope so too. I hope he looks at gorillas and yeah,
What else do you think that kid's fallen into?
so many things.
Ditches? Holes?
Well, I think we got questioned.
Multi-level marketing schemes?
Yeah. Wells for sure.
Yeah.
He fell into a well, but the news had already covered.
It was already
the well.
done.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had a precedent for gorilla enclosure fall, because there's a boy that fell in a few years ago.
Nope. This
Amazing.
kid.
I think he got hurt.
Oh,
I don't
there was
think
no
they were
Jambo.
kind.
That's why there was no Jambo.
Yeah.
Finally, my final item is on July 23rd. The Duke of York, Prince Andrew, married Sarah Ferguson.
Oh, man.
And as we all know, that marriage fell apart in a fiery, fiery way. But more than that, Andrew went on to fame and glory as a sex trafficker along with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So,
That's a toughie.
this may have been a bright moment in his life, But it was maybe the last moment that we liked Prince Andrew. Yeah.
What are his kids' names? Aren't they? One of them's
Beatrice.
and Eugenie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
The only reason I know that is because I watched last night the movie Scoop.
You
on
did? How
Netflix.
was it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, and it was about when
wanna
they
see
had
it.
this interview on the BBC where Prince Andrew just came across as a fucking asshole. He thought what I loved is that he thought he was setting the story straight. This was after Jeffrey Epstein had died, and he was like, "I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. Like, it was fine. We were friends. Blah blah blah." Like, he just came off as terrible. So since then, he stepped away from duties, i.e., he was pushed out of his duties.
Yeah, as he should have been a
So
long
anywho,
time ago.
1986, he had a moment in the sun.
I have to say that as an avid Crown watcher,
Uh-huh.
anytime he was on, which he was mainly like his character, I should say.
Yeah.
Mainly as a young, version of himself. I was always like, what are the clues? Where are we? Like,
Well, and apparently, like, Mummy loved him best.
but she also apparently famously really loved Fergie and was upset that they broke up.
Oh, I love the royal family. I thought they didn't like Fergie.
That was the outward facing thing, but apparently the queen had sort of a soft spot for it. Thought she was really funny.
I mean, she was a cool redhead getting into the gang.
Yeah.
We all liked it over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they didn't like, just like anybody else that gets out of the royal family and leaves, you have a loose end that can say things about the inner workings, and probably knew that she had information about Andrew because everyone probably knew for a long time he was
Yeah,
a
I mean,
creep boy.
she had to, yeah.
Yeah. She probably just sits around now and is like, told you.
So, anywho, that was 1986.
Yeah.
Should we wrap up?
I think so. 1986.
Yeah.
More to talk about someday.
Yep.
For
Yes.
sure.
Good times. Until then.
Have fun with your Popples.
Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. The show is produced by Amy Lee Lillard. Follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. And follow us at Broads and Books Productions for updates on new shows coming your way. See you next time.
Oh, also, I was listening to one of our old episodes with Michael on Spotify, and I had it on the TV, and we are rated explicit on Spotify, which I think is delightful.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know how
Yes.
we decided that, but it was the right call.
I had
the right
to
call.
say if it was explicit or not, or else we'd be kicked off of various platforms.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that we use colorful language.
Oh, no.
It's the F word, isn't it?
Yes.
Fart is what I mean.
Fart. We say it so much. Fart and farts. Yeah.